from there. Great game. 50 seconds to go. Hurts. Deep shot. Hauled in. Devontae.
Sure.
And before the press conferences even start. I mean, we could talk for 45 minutes just about how atrocious the defense is.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media Live. As always, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Share it out, smash that like button, retweet this thing all over the place on Twitter, and make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe button on YouTube. If you want to interact with the show, best place to interact with the show is on Facebook and YouTube. You head over to one of those DSM pages, you get in the conversation, and I can put your comments, your questions, your thoughts right up on the screen, like these examples that I am putting up for you. Good morning, Katahat. How are you doing today? We got lots to talk about today, but first we got to thank our sponsor, Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming products, the GOAT in below-the-waist maintenance. Make sure you check them out, manscaped.com. Use promo code DSM at checkout, and it gets you 20% off free shipping and lets them know Team DSM sent you and that we're doing our job and promoting that great company there. I am Phil Stiefel, Happier to Knowledge on Twitter, joined as always by my partner, the Jason Voorhees, at Mustang3651. Love that shirt there, Jason. How you doing today?
Appreciate you, brother. Doing good. Second day in a row, and it's getting close to Super Bowl. So,
and while you're rocking a great Tupac hoodie there, you know, and I love that Tupac hoodie that you got on, I'm rocking a shirt that says, so you can't see it with the thing. It says support local pizza. And I gotta say, today is National Pizza Day. National Pizza Day, Wednesday, today. What's today's date? I don't even know what today's date is. The 7th, the 8th, or 9th? Today's February 9th, National Pizza Day. Support your local pizza shops. Yes, I own a local pizza shop, Fox's Pizza, in Kennett Square. But support your local pizza shops. It's a big day for them. And, you know, be patient with them because it's going to be a busy day for all pizza shop owners. Be polite and fair to them because they'll be quite busy. Make sure you check us out.
Specials going on today?
I've got loads of specials going on. I haven't even figured them all out yet. I got a big catering order to get to when I first get in. We're going to get to Daryl Morey in a second there, Carter. Absolutely. So we got lots to talk about today, Jason. Obviously, we've got the Daryl Morey, James Harden love affair continuing. Lots of trades have already started going down in the NBA as we get closer to tomorrow's trade deadline tomorrow afternoon. The Sixers still haven't made a move. We're going to talk about that a lot. We're going to talk about the Sixers game last night and how the trade deadline is so crucial to this team. And then we're going to get back into Super Bowl talk, you know, as we get, I think we are now 5 days away from Super Bowl Sunday and from the biggest sporting event of the year. So we got lots to talk about. And it's going to be a jam-packed show. So let's talk about it. Yesterday, multiple trades went down in the NBA, okay? Two pretty big trades in the sense of fact that they were trades that teams were rumored to be involved with the Sixers for Ben Simmons. The first one went down a little after the show, about 11:30 yesterday morning. CJ McCollum of the Portland Trailblazers, they finally broke up the Dame CJ, pairing, and CJ McCollum got traded to the New Orleans Pelicans. Okay, and it was a pretty big deal, a lot of moving parts. Yeah, it was basically though CJ McCollum for former Nova product Josh Hart. That was the main part of the deal. And there was a point in time earlier in the offseason, at the beginning of the season, where Sixers fans were wanting Daryl Morey to trade Ben Simmons for CJ McCollum, straight up. And I debated that topic on this show multiple times. Is CJ McCollum a good enough return? But yet all that the Pelicans had to give up to get CJ McCollum was Josh Hart. And Josh Hart's a really good quality player. He's a guy that I've wanted on the Sixers bench for multiple years now because he does a lot of things right. He rebounds, he shoots. He's just one of those perfect team players. Knows his role and does whatever's necessary for the team. But that trade, and then the next trade that went down later in the day, where I want to get the details, it was about 1:30 it broke. The Indiana Pacers traded basically Domantas Sabonis, an all-star power forward, to the Sacramento Kings for Tyrese Haliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson. Basically, Haliburton and Hield for Ben Simmons was discussed an awful lot of the time. And yet the rumors kept coming out that Haliburton isn't on the trade market. There's no way. He's untouchable to the Kings. And all that it took, and I'm not trying to talk down Domantas Sabonis because Sabonis is an excellent all-star player. but he's a totally different player than Ben Simmons. And you cannot tell me that if Ben Simmons was really, truly offered to the Kings for those two guys, that they wouldn't have taken the Ben Simmons offer instead. So my question with these deals going down, I know you don't know the NBA. You're getting better at it. I don't know how much you know about these guys that have been traded in the last, 24 hours. But you can't tell me that Ben Simmons for any of these deals would have been easily accepted by those teams. So the question is, has Daryl Morey even been trying to make all these rumors we keep hearing? Have they just been smokescreens, rumors, and not real? Has Daryl Morey this whole time just solely been focused on James Harden? Because it like I said, you cannot tell me that those deals are better than what the Sixers could have offered.
Now, this is going to kind of probably surprise you, but I kind of disagree with what you're saying.
Okay.
And there's a reason for that.
Okay.
I think what this shows me, the fact that these deals went down, and as you're saying, in the scheme of things, in reality, if Ben Simmons was offered, he should technically be a better piece. But I think this shows how around the league Ben Simmons is viewed right now. I don't think he has any trade value. I think that's what this is showing us. Because I agree that these players they're decent pieces, but to me, if you look at it from a standpoint of capital and what a player's worth and what they can bring to the table, if Ben Simmons is healthy and Ben Simmons is doesn't have all these issues and he gets better, he could be a top 25 player in the league, maybe top 30, but he's not. He's a baby right now. He's a crybaby, and I think around the league they're worried about. People are concerned about that. So what that tells me is that I don't think that it's for a lack of trying on Daryl Morey's part. I think it's more so the reality of the league doesn't really view Ben Simmons as
It's a really fair point. And I was thinking about that last night as I was after the Sixers game, after I did my golf show last night, Fairway to Heaven. I started thinking of that. I've been thinking of a couple different theories on all these different situations. And that was one of the thoughts that popped into my head. So I'm glad you brought that up, because all day long yesterday, I kept saying there's no way Daryl Morey was even trying for these teams if this is what they accepted. Or is it that Ben Simmons just, there were people this whole entire process this year, from the day he started holding out saying that Ben Simmons has no trade value. And we kept saying there's no way he has no trade value, because he's still Ben Simmons, an all pro defensive player, one of the best defensive players in the world, a really good floor general in the regular season. He does a lot of things really well. And that's where, back earlier in the season, we kept talking, would CJ McCollum be enough for Ben Simmons? And people were like, well, you're taking pennies on the dollar. But then you're also saying, well, he's not doing anything for us now. Nobody's going to trade you Ben Simmons for Damian Lillard, straight up. So CJ McCollum is that, next step down and all. So it's a really interesting point you bring up. And it's something I really wish we knew more about what the league really thought about Ben Simmons at this point.
Well, I think the longer this goes, the more you're going to see it. If the Sixers have a problem getting Harden, and if the Nets stand firm and say, no, we want Maxey, and that's it, that's the only way you're getting Harden, then kind of what do you do? Because nobody, a lot of us don't want to give up Maxey. But in reality, dude, think about it. It's either you got to take a stab at a guy or you're not going to get him. Do you want James Harden bad enough? Because sometimes you got to look at it that way. Listen, I do not want to give up Maxey, but I do everything in my power to try to get Harden. But if the Nets keep telling you, no, that's the only way you're getting him, and even you got to wait till next year, would you rather just make the move, get rid of Simmons, and just move on and have Harden and Embiid and know that you have two superstar players, in your stead? Or do you say,
I agree. I want it to be over with and moved on from as well, 100%. The other side of that, if you want to go back to the James Harden part of it, so obviously James Harden's a free agent at the end of the season. So I put out a tweet actually 15 minutes before the show saying, what if, the Daryl Morey and, the Nets GM, they have a framework for a deal, whether it's Ben Simmons and Maxey or Ben Simmons and Matisse or Ben Simmons and a lesser player, for James Harden. But, maybe Daryl Morey's ready to move on from Tyrese Maxey for James Harden. But he says, the only way I'll do it is if James Harden agrees to sign that extension now before the trade. And what if James Harden is the person that's holding this deal up?
Could be.
Maybe James Harden hasn't agreed to want to stay long-term in Philly. There's rumors that he does. The strip clubs in Philly are great. So, he's got that on his side.
God.
But, sorry, I had to throw that in there.
They're probably all watching their phones for the
like hoping
strippers.
Club Risque, like my man Dean over at Club Risque, he's like looking, oh man, yeah, I better put a fresh table in the corner for him. It's another interesting aspect of this whole thing is maybe James Harden is the issue. And you see so many different rumors on the James Harden side of things. Some saying that, he wants out, some saying he doesn't want out. He sat out again last night and the Nets just got stomped by the Celtics. There was a point last night where they were down 28-2 to start that game against the Celtics last night. And James Harden wasn't on the bench to start, but then came out onto the bench and sat with his team through the second half of the game. So if he's so checked out of the Nets, he wouldn't have come out for the second half and sat on that bench. He wouldn't have been there talking to the guys throughout the game. So I really am so confused on where this whole situation's going. But the one thing that has become clear that is Daryl Morey is all in on what he's wanted James Harden since the day he got here last year. He tried last year with the Houston Rockets to get him. And it's like Daryl Morey is just so focused on one player that he might be missing out on a lot of other options to improve this team.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is appreciate you, Sage, so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're awesome. We love you, Sage. I guess where I'm at with this whole thing is like everyone likes to sit there and everyone has an opinion. Like Daryl Morey, to me, I think he has a great track record as far as being able to acquire players. But kind of similar to a GM that we have with the Phillies, Dave Dombrowski, generally his track record has always been to kind of get rid of the young guy, like get talent, but not worry at what cost. Like he just kind of makes moves and
he goes all in
to be able to build a team. But then like a lot of times, the cupboard's left bare. Daryl Morey,
there's a huge difference between Dombrowski and Morey. Dombrowski has won a World Series. Daryl Morey has never won an NBA title.
Well, and that's true. And I think that's
the difference.
Well, I think I think that's where we're at. I think Daryl Morey knows that. And I think in my mind, he believes that the best player available right now, besides obviously Dame Lillard, but Dame Lillard's not technically available.
Right.
So the best player in his mind is James Harden. And I think we all agree. I love what's his name? I'm drawing a blank. The guy that got hurt. The guy that's out now for the year.
Oh, Bradley Beal.
Love Bradley Beal, but I think between the two of them, James Harden is the better player. I mean, right. Even there's an argument between James Harden and God, why am I drawing a blank? We were just talking about him, Dame.
Yeah,
too. A lot of people like Dame Lillard better. I don't know if he's a little younger. Maybe he's a year younger.
Dame Lillard's about 31 years old, I believe it is.
And how old's Harden?
Harden's 33 or 30. He either just turned 34 or he's about to turn 34.
All right, so James Harden's a little older. So, yeah. But at the end of the day, I think in Morey's mind, James Harden is the best player that's available. Like right now, logistically and monetarily and the best player that we could probably acquire. So I think that's why he has his mind set on it, because I think he knows this is his best opportunity for him to win it. Like,
absolutely.
Listen, people have, it's human nature to be selfish. Daryl Morey, I'm sure he wants to do what's best for the Sixers, but he also wants to make his reputation better. So he's obviously trying to do what he believes is the right thing. And if that is where his heart is,
see, that's where his heart is. But then Carter Hart's, brings up the point here, and this is what I've been talking about for weeks.
I agree.
You're so focused on James Harden, and if you look at last night's game against the Suns, the Phoenix Suns are the best team in the NBA, 44-10. They're winning games at an 81% clip. Only a few teams have ever won 65 or more games. They're on pace to win like 67 games this year. Okay, so one of the best regular season, runs of all time. The Sixers were right there in the game until one key thing. until Doc Rivers, which we could talk about Doc Rivers, also here in this conversation. Doc Rivers pulled what he always pulls, and he did an all-bench lineup again, which why you would do that when your team has 3 players in Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, and then literally no one else that can get their own shot, that can create a shot. But no, he went last night with a lineup of Danny Green, George Niang, Andre Drummond, Furkan Korkmaz, and Matisse Thybulle. And Matisse Thybulle is a starter technically, but you only had 4 guys on the bench there to play. Why Isaiah Joe, didn't see a single minute in last night's game, I have no idea. But we went from being up 14 to down 2 in like this while he was running his all-bench lineup. And it goes to show, while we're stuck on Harden, we're missing out on opportunities to improve this team. Okay? You need to improve it. I've been preaching this. I've been saying it nonstop that Joel Embiid could carry this team to the Eastern Conference Finals, to the NBA Finals potentially, if you tweak this bench. He's playing that good. Furkan Korkmaz cannot be your backup point guard. Doc Rivers said after the game last night, we need another guard on this team. You just can't do that. You cannot run this team. Even if Shake Milton comes back at some point, Shake Milton is only so good. He's not going to make the difference of, taking us to the next level. I don't know how I feel about the rumor yesterday. Dennis Schroeder, backup point guard of the Celtics, he might be available in a trade. But that's the type of guy you need. You need a veteran point guard that could come in and run the second team, that can get their own shots, that could do what Tyrese Maxey does, maybe to a lesser extent. That's what you need. But Daryl Morey is so focused on James Harden. We are now just over 24 hours to the trade deadline. If he doesn't get James Harden, and because he's so focused on Harden, misses out on other opportunities, then you just potentially wasted a great season.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly. Don't let Furkan Korkmaz run the point. There's no point to Furkan running the point.
It doesn't make sense to me that he's not looking at other areas. Like, I get it if he's only focused on Harden as far as being the star, but this team needs a better bench as well. So if that is the case,
if you get James Harden, all of a sudden your bench gets better.
Well, here's the deal:
Tyrese Maxey to the bench, or
let's not. I guess here's where I'm at with it. I'm willing to give Morey the benefit of the doubt because I've seen what he's done in the past. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that he's trying. And if we are going all in for Harden, there is a possibility that this is a multiple player deal where we get a guy's back and we might have to move other guys. Like, even if we have to give somebody else up, maybe we get some guys back in the deal that can be better for your bench. I don't know the Nets that well, but I'm sure they have some players that, could move in that deal. So I get what you're saying, but I'm saying maybe that's the part. Maybe Morey maybe that's what's holding the deal up. Maybe there's multiple players involved. Maybe they did ask for Tobias Harris, and maybe, Morey's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Because I don't know. I'm just hoping that Daryl Morey's focus is everywhere, not just on the one player. Because if you make only that one phone call, it falls through. We have no leverage in a trade, but honestly, the Nets have no leverage in a trade as well with James Harden, because James Harden's a free agent, and you don't want a guy like James Harden to just walk away without getting something for return. And that's why the Ben Simmons, James Harden works so well together. It's because they both need to get change of pace and change of players and change of teams and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, Doc Rivers, this has been an issue since Brett Brown, the rotations and how they manage. We have not had a coach that knows how to manage rotations in Philly. It's almost as frustrating as Andy Reid.
I was just going to say, you just read my mind.
Andy Reid and time management is the same thing as Doc Rivers and his bench. When you have three good players and you pull all 3 of them out at the same time, it boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. And I think I don't know if I talked about with you or somebody else on one of the days you were off in the morning here. The fact that he runs Joel Embiid for 11 minutes in the third quarter. And then that forces him to have him sit the first 5 or 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. You got to work on that too. You don't need him to play 11 minutes in the third quarter. You play him 9 minutes in the third quarter. Then you get him back in at the 8 or 9 minute mark of the fourth quarter, and then you've got him for the crunch time of the game. Doc Rivers' lineup management and rotation management is literally like one of the most confusing things I've ever seen.
dude, I can't argue with you. You're 100% right. I to this day, I'm like, I was told that, Doc Rivers was this great coach, and I don't see it. I see a lot of deficiencies is what I see.
Oh,
and maybe that's just me being like, a recency biased, type person.
Mhm.
And that's the world we live in, the recency bias. But that's what I'm seeing. I am not seeing like this great coach, this great leader. What I see from him is actually the opposite. He makes excuses a lot of the times. He's arrogant to some of the. I mean, listen, it's your job as a coach to be asked questions. Now, I get it when some of these reporters ask really dumb questions and you get pissed off. I get that. But that one, conflict that he had a couple weeks back with, I believe, like, I forget the guy's name. He's very reputable.
Yeah.
Where he like basically called him an idiot or something. Yeah. Like, dude,
would you ask Greg Popovich that question?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah.
But that's my point. Like, so I'm seeing a lot of that with Doc Rivers, and maybe that's because he's under a lot of pressure. Maybe he's feeling the pressure, knowing that you better perform, or you're gonna, they're gonna look for another coach, and that could be. I don't know. I'm just saying what I see with him is not what I was kind of envisioned when we went and got him. Now, I will say I do want to shout out. I mentioned him, by the way, earlier, Tobias Harris. About possibly being, moved in another deal. But Harris last night, man, 40 minutes, 30 points, 13 of 18 from field goal range. Like that, dude, like if Tobias Harris plays like that, now, like I said, this is the problem with the Sixers. It seems like when they have great games by Embiid and Harris, they go bonkers on these, idiotic moves with the bench where it's kind of a coaching, screw up. So I don't know, like it's like inconsistent that way. Like Embiid, once again, another strong game.
I want to shout out Carter Hart here. I mean, it's a great comment here, and you got to give Doc credit. I mean, we bashed Doc for his rotation, but Joel has gotten better. Tobias has gotten better. Maxey has improved so much faster. I mean, Ben Simmons didn't improve under Doc Rivers, but everybody else has. So I mean, I'll even go as far to say that Furkan Korkmaz has slightly improved since Doc Rivers has gotten here. He's just being used improperly at this point. So it's a great point, Carter. It's a great point there. But yeah, I mean, look at last night's game. I mean, we lost by 5. It was a close game. We were up big, in the second quarter, third quarter there for a little while before the Suns obviously went on a run. But, if you look at the box score, you got 64-70, 78 of your 109 points came from 3 guys. It's just not good enough, George Niang, 8 points. He's your best bench scorer at this point. I mean, obviously Seth Curry had another really awful shooting night. And there's a lot of Seth Curry's got a lot of people. All the Tobias hate has now transferred over to Seth Curry hate because Seth Curry's coming back from a shoulder injury.
He has been struggling,
and he's been shooting. I mean, I think he's shooting like 20% from deep since he's been back from injury. And he's a great 3-point shooter. People gotta, just like I told you to pump the brakes on the Tobias hate. You got to pump the brakes on the Seth Curry hate. We bring in somebody else like a James Harden or even more bench, help. Some of the pressure can come off of Seth Curry. Seth Curry probably, if this team was a little deeper, Seth Curry might still be sitting and resting and getting better. Seth Curry is probably still injured at this point, but knows that this team needs a healthy player out there, or just needs a semi-healthy player out there. So I think people need to chill. Yeah, exactly. Chill on the Seth Curry hate right now. Give him time to get healthy. He'll be fine. If he's given the right opportunity to rest and get better. But I mean, you look at this, Joel Embiid, 34 points again, 12 rebounds. It was a really good game from your big 3 guys. And if Seth Curry knocks down a couple more shots, maybe. Obviously, Joel Embiid had a really bad turnover late in the game there, probably gave the game away there. But we should never have been in that position because we should never have blown the 14-point lead. And that's the thing you see with this Sixers team over and over again. We blow the big leads because we go to the all-bench lineup. We blow the big leads because we have no bench. So forget James Harden. I would love James Harden here because James Harden's a star. But I don't care about James Harden. I want the bench. You could have gone out and if C.J. McCollum for Josh Hart happened, you could have gone out and gotten Josh Hart. He would have improved our bench. You could have gone out and gotten C.J. McCollum. You could have gone out and gotten a lot of these guys that have been moved so far, and I'm sure there's a lot more that are going to be moved today and tomorrow afternoon. Go out and get some of these guys. improve the depth. That move like we made last year for George Hill, it didn't get us to the title, but it was a smart move. It just didn't work out big picture. Those kind of moves are the differences that make championship teams get over that hump. Those key minor moves at the trade deadline.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the standings. So it looks like Miami went up into the lead now, and
they've been there for a game or two now.
Sixers have dropped to 5th.
Yep.
So we're slowly dwindling all that ground that we made. Slowly starting to.
Oh, we knew the January schedule was super, super easy, and we knew February was going to be a little tougher. We knew we had games against the Suns and
teams
like this that are going
to. I think that's why it's all the more important to fix your bench, like you said.
Absolutely.
Because if that's the main issue, if you're looking at this team and you're saying what is their biggest glaring issue, and you say it's the bench, then that is exactly what you should be going for. I agree. And if that could hurt Morey. I agree with Carter Hart, what he said in the beginning, that if Morey doesn't make this deal, I think it was his very first comment. If Morey doesn't make a deal, I don't remember the exact wording of the comment. I don't know if you could bring that up.
Yeah, his worries, they're stuck on Harden. They don't.
Well, yeah, there was one that he said about Morey in the beginning.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
That
would be overreaction.
I didn't even see that one. Off with his head. That's right. Yeah. Look, it's going to be interesting. And you know what's really can I bring up a side point to this?
Sure.
This whole thing. You love Joel Embiid, right? I love Joel Embiid. He's fantastic. He's a great player, one of the greats of all time in Philadelphia's sports history already, in my opinion. He's personality. He's entertaining. He's a great basketball player. But dude, I get so tired of his trolling tweets. I mean, yesterday, all day long, he's putting out tweet after tweet after tweet. And they're just trolling. He's just trolling us. And I don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to. Dude, you've already got, our emotions are already tied up into a complete and total mess. Yo, can we stop with the trolling? Can we just stay off Twitter for the next 24 hours, Joel?
I'd be okay if you put the Charmin toilet paper up there every day.
That was hilarious. But right now, we're right in the heart of this trade deadline. You trolling it. I saw one person pull out 4 of his tweets and circle the HAR. Like they found the letter HARDEN over the course of 4 tweets, and it's like, dude, these people, you're feeding into it too much. I just want it all to be quiet.
Speaking of Embiid, we didn't bring up his comments.
Which one? Because he's made a lot of them.
Well, did you see his comments about Simmons? About the fact
never actually said Ben Simmons' name.
Yeah, but he said anybody is welcome to play, and if you want to be part of us, I am sure everybody is going to be fine with it.
I brought that up yesterday too. If this deal doesn't go through, if Ben Simmons is still here, would you, if you were a player in the locker room, would you welcome him back? And as a fan, I'd welcome him back. I mean, we might boo him the first game out, but he would improve the team. He would help the bench depth. He would help this team in so many ways. I mean, if he says, all right, you can trade me, I'll play, do you let him play?
I'm just saying I got to be a little surprised. Not that I would think that Embiid wouldn't be, saying the right things, but to hear it out of Embiid's mouth in itself, I think once again, it's just another example of his maturity as a leader, and him not being a grudge holder. And the fact of the matter is he knows at the end of the day, I'm sure even Embiid knows that defensively Simmons makes this team way better. And that's obviously been a little bit of a struggle for us too.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying the fact that he said it now, will it happen? That's a different question. But I like the fact that he did at least come out and say something like that. Yeah. Because I'm sure he knows.
If Ben Simmons comes back, you can move Seth Curry to the bench. You could start Ben Simmons along with Maxey in the backcourt. Tyrese Maxey has been running point, but honestly, Tyrese Maxey was never a point guard before he played for the Sixers, so he could play off the ball just as well as on the ball. You improve your bench by moving Seth to the bench. It fixes the problem. Carter's saying no, he wouldn't welcome Ben back, and I understand that, and there's a lot of people that'll say that, and you're welcome to it. But you can't tell me this team isn't a little bit better with Ben Simmons on it than off of it. I mean, we have the glaring holes on defense without Ben Simmons. We have the glaring hole with a ball handler. Hell, make Ben Simmons be your bench point guard, your backup point guard if you have to. Why not? Whatever. You're better with Ben Simmons than not Ben Simmons. So, I welcome him back. I mean, it's better than having $30-some million sitting at home doing nothing. So, yeah, it's a great point. I don't know what'll happen with that, but I mean, I'll be interested to see if a trade doesn't happen, what he decides. Because there's also, Joel made those comments, but also there was rumors put out. I don't know if it's by The Athletic or some website put out reports that Ben Simmons' camp is telling him that if you don't get traded, you should go back.
Well, he's losing money every day. I mean,
yeah, he's losing. And his camp's losing money. If he's not getting paid, his team isn't getting paid. So yeah, that's probably part of it there.
Well, I already told you my thoughts, but yeah, I just don't.
I mean, it definitely would be difficult for a locker room. That's for sure, to welcome someone like that back into the team. But that'll be tough. So last night was the last game. I asked you this question yesterday. I'm going to ask it again today. It was the last game before the trade deadline for the Sixers. Will Ben Simmons be here tomorrow at 4:00 when the trade deadline is over?
Yeah, I haven't changed this time.
You're gonna stay that he is not getting traded.
Yeah, because I think the Nets want Maxey, and I think Morey's not willing to do it, even though I don't know what I think. I want James Harden so bad that I'm almost at the point where I'm like, if they have to give up Maxey, they give up Maxey. Like, that's where I'm at, because I'm just because is Maxey going to be like top 3 point guard in the league
in 2 or 3 years? Maybe.
If he could, then I don't know. Like, that's tough.
He could be.
But
he's already 21, and that's good. So,
but at that point, Joel Embiid is a year closer to the end of his window, or even at the end of his window.
I hear you.
I want to win. At the end of the day, I want to win a championship with Embiid.
Yeah.
So I think I'm doing whatever I have to do to be best now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really looking for a future, especially when we went through this whole process as fans. I mean, think about it. If we go through this and Embiid and we don't win a championship, how frustrated would you be?
Yeah. I hear you on that. 100%.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't know. My thoughts change every 5 minutes because every rumor I see changes my – literally, can everybody but Shams and Woj stay off of Twitter for the next 24 hours or until a deal? Because every rumor that's out there, I got to check. I got to click on their profile picture, see if they're legit, find out who they are, go through their profile. I'm tired of it.
Did you see that Bozo? Did you see that?
I blew my phone battery out twice yesterday, refreshing Twitter over and over again yesterday.
Did you see that Bozo in Orlando, some reporter with a blue check mark on Twitter, saying the Sixers are ready to trade Ben Simmons for Markelle Fultz?
I thought that was hilarious, that tweet. It was great. I loved it. Absolutely. And all the fake Woj accounts that are out there and the fake Shams accounts that are out there.
Jeff Evans, if you remember during the Bryce Harper saga when it was leading up to the Phillies getting him, remember that guy? There was a guy named Jeff Evans. He was just some nobody, and he put his heading as he worked for like KWTV. Like, he had like a legit heading and all this thing, and he kept like tweeting out these tweets, and everyone kind of got onto it.
Yeah.
So I was saying that other guy yesterday was Jeff Evans, like reincarnated to the basketball.
I just love the Vin guy, the insider Vin guy. I mean, he's the same thing with basketball. That guy's got so many inside sources. He throws out 47 tweets a day. Maybe one of them will be right eventually.
Yep.
All right, let's transition. So that was enough of that. We are still in Super Bowl week. Let's talk a little Super Bowl here. Let's talk a little football. Bengals, Rams. We're still going on here with this game. 5 days away. All right. So yesterday we talked about the sense of urgency, okay, for the Rams versus the youth and inexperience of the Bengals. And I thought about it some more, and I really think that sense of urgency is what's going to win out in the end, okay? And I'm starting now on Wednesday to teeter towards the Rams side of the equation. So I originally, I don't even know what I put in the info thing on the show today, what we were going to talk about. But as right before the show, I kind of got to a point where I figured what I wanted to start talking about today and we're going to go for about 15, 20 minutes on it before we talk some more fun stuff on the Super Bowl and then wrap up the show for the day, is I want to start going position by position and seeing who has the edge. Okay? And we could start with offense. We could start with that. We go quarterback and running back. Who holds the advantage at each position? And if you start checking the boxes on each side, who has the advantage, and that could kind of tell you maybe how to predict this game a little bit. So let's start right at the top. You've got the young 25-year-old Joe Burrow, first time in the playoffs, but played in a lot of big games in his life. Won a national championship in college versus Matthew Stafford, the veteran, the guy that never could get over the hump till this year, but the guy that's put up phenomenal stats his entire career. Who holds the advantage at the quarterback position? If you had a check mark on one side, Rams or Bengals, who holds the advantage and why at quarterback?
Not gonna lie, man. I love Matt Stafford, and that's one of the reasons I'm rooting for the Rams in this Super Bowl. But the moxie and the leader, the winning attitude that I see from Joe Burrow, like considering he's done it, I know it's a smaller stage in college, but what he did at LSU and what he's done in his rookie, I mean, because let's face it, his rookie year he got hurt, so this is kind of a continuation of that because he coming back from an injury. To be able to do what he did and then do what he did in the playoffs against Pat Mahomes, I think I'm going to say it's even because of that. I think Matt Stafford, if you want to look at it as obviously experience-wise, Matt Stafford has the experience. But however, Matt Stafford's also shown propensity to not be able to win in the playoffs. This is kind of the first year that he has got over the hump to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to call it even. I'm going to say that's an even line.
Okay, that's fair. I'm gonna edge on the side of Matthew Stafford,
Okay.
because we're going to get into the other positions, but I'm going to say that Matthew Stafford's experience, Matthew Stafford, his weapons that he has to throw to, Matthew Stafford, has a coach that's been here before. He lost in the Super Bowl. I mean, it was one of the worst Super Bowls of all time. I'm going to say that Matthew Stafford has a slight edge over Joe Burrow because maybe, just maybe, Joe Burrow, cocky Joe Burrow, over arrogant, buying into all the hype Joe Burrow just might be at a disadvantage. Joe Burrow is he's 25 years old. This is his first chance. There's no guarantees you get another chance in the NFL. I know that. But, on paper, he's going to have a lot more opportunities in this. I'm going to go. The advantage of the quarterback goes on the game script. That's a very fair point. But the game script comes down to, not just the quarterback, but all around him, the weapons, the play calling, everything. I'm going to lean on the side of Matthew Stafford protecting the ball. Matthew Stafford, his experience, maybe not in the biggest of games, but I'm going to lead on his side. Jeremy checking in with a Bengals upset. He says, I don't know if a Bengals it's as much of an upset as people think. When people pick the Bengals to upset this week, I don't think it's necessarily an upset. I mean, the Bengals are a really good football team. They're just young. So I don't know why they think that the Rams have such the high-end advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the two teams on paper, both offensively and defensively, they're extremely closely matched. I mean, all the numbers are extremely close. Like, Rams are 9th in the league in offense. Bengals are 10th. Yeah. So to me, that's pretty even. Passing yards. Rams are 5th. Bengals are 7th. Rushing yards. Rams are 25th. Bengals are 23rd. Like, everything is like right there. It's not like an extreme disadvantage in any real area. Points. That's where there's a little bit. No. Rams are set. Am I looking at this right? 7th. They're both tied. They're tied for points at 7th. Third down percentage. Rams are 7th. Bengals are 16th. So maybe that's.
I want to bring up George's point here. Burrow has better weapons to throw to. I absolutely disagree because if we want to talk about running backs and wide receivers and tight ends next and who holds the advantage, the only advantage the Bengals have that is clear-cut advantage is the running game. Joe Mixon is better than the combo of Cam Akers and Sony Michel. That's it.
Daryl Henderson,
I know
like,
Jamar Chase is great, but you're saying Jamar Chase is better than Cooper Kupp. You're saying T. Higgins is better than Odell. You're saying Tyler Boyd is better than Van Jefferson. I kind of go to Kupp and Odell being better than Chase and Higgins. I know it's borderline. It's close.
Don't forget, you can't also forget who Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are going to be going up against. You're going up against Jalen Ramsey and the other cornerback. I forget his name. He's not a slouch. The Rams have a great secondary. It's not just Ramsey. So you have to look at that, because I look to the opposite side of the ball. I think the Bengals' strength on defense is their interior line and their ends. They're not as strong in the secondary. So I can foresee Cooper Kupp being able to do a lot of those, deep outs and they're going to kill him on the slants, like with Odell. I mean, Odell's been playing out of his mind, and I hate to say I told you so, but I love Odell Beckham, and I know a lot of people don't like him because they say he's cocky and he's overrated. I know my partner on Sports and Metal, we've had arguments about it. I love Odell Beckham. I would take Odell Beckham any day of the week on the Eagles. Like, he's a guy that has loads of talent. Yes. Does he have an attitude? Okay, yeah. But I think he's showing this year exactly what a lot of people said it was never in him, is the fact that he does want to win. And when he went to the Rams, I thought, hey, this is his best shot at a championship, and here we are. He's in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He obviously wasn't. He obviously wasn't going anywhere with the Browns, because I think, talk about an overrated quarterback, Baker Mayfield. I mean, that's, to me, not to get off the subject.
I just wanted to throw Jeremy saying Jamar Chase is right there with you.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase had a great season. There's no doubt about it. And he's already one of the top 5 or 10 receivers. But I don't think anybody's on the level of Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is just heads and shoulders above everybody else. And then you throw in Odell, comparing with Jamar's partner T. Higgins. You got to think that the Kupp Odell is greater than the Jamar Higgins at this point.
Here's where I disagree.
Jamar and Higgins, Chase and Higgins can be better at some point.
Here's where I disagree. Here's where I disagree with Jeremy. Jamar Chase is a boom or bust wide receiver.
Absolutely.
Cooper Kupp is a consistent wide receiver who consistently catches 11 catches for 137 yards every week. Jamar Chase will have that game where he has 200 yards on 10 catches, and then the next week he'll have 4 catches for 49 yards and no touchdowns.
I'll give it to you right now. Week
That's
1,
exactly what it is.
7 catches, 101 yards. Week 2, 4 for 54. Next week, 5 for 65. Then a couple weeks later, he goes 10 for 159. Then 6 catches. Then 10 catches. Then against the Jets, he had 9 catches for 32 yards. He had against Pittsburgh 3 catches for 39 yards. He had a game against Denver where he had 4 catches for 3 yards. Or these are targets, not even catches. I'm naming his targets, so his catches are even worse than that. So he's had 2, 4, 4, 3. He's had a bunch of 3-catch games. Against Denver, he had 1 catch for 3 yards. 2 catches against Cleveland. It's an exact point right there. Chase is still boom or bust. To get Chase to be Cooper Kupp.
Look at Cooper Kupp's numbers. Every week. I don't think he had one bad week.
Cooper Kupp, when the deep ball's being taken away, finds ways to get open underneath. He finds ways to get open, across the middle, doing different things. Massively downplaying the fact. Absolutely. You said it yesterday, George, that the running game and Joe Mixon is one of the keys to victory.
If they go that route.
Yeah, absolutely. If they go that route.
Coach has to go that route. I mean, I agree that George is right.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. I mean, I want to bring up the defensive stats here real quick on the running game for the Rams, because I think if I remember reading correctly, the Rams, it's kind of crazy because you got Jalen Ramsey, you got Aaron Donald, you got Von Miller. They've given up 300 yards passing. They give up 100 yards passing some games. Then they give up 3-4 times in the last 10 weeks. They've given up over 300 yards passing. Problem is, these are their rushing defense: 50 yards, 51, 61, 66, 80, 61, 92. They don't give up rushing yards. I mean, they've got a couple games where they gave up 100 yards rushing, but their defense on the rushing side of the equation is really, really strong. So, I want them to use or Joe Mixon to kind of, take some of the pressure off of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and all the young kids. But I just don't know if you can effectively run the ball against the Rams defense. Yeah, I agree. Cooper Kupp finds in the film room where the soft spots are in the zone against the defense. So, yeah, I don't know. And then you even go to tight end. Cincinnati's tight end, still questionable, probably won't play. And Tyler Higbee, he's a solid tight end. I just think if you go, the running backs go to the Bengals, but only if used effectively. Wide receivers, tight ends go slightly in the edge of the Rams, which correlates to why I say the quarterback position is also slightly in favor of the Rams, because all the pieces together fit together to slightly offensively teeter in the way of the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're pretty much spot on with what I said, except I had obviously the quarterbacks being even. But if you look at the other aspects of the offense, I'm going to go another route. I'm going to go. I know a lot of people hate the guy. A lot of people think he's smug. But when it's all said and done, coaching is still extremely important in the Super Bowl. And Sean McVay has a lot more experience than the Bengals' young, I'm forgetting the guy's name, brother of the Eagles' old coach. I can't think of his name. Bengals coach. Who is it?
Zach Taylor.
Zach Taylor.
Yeah, Zach Taylor.
Press Taylor's brother is their coach. So I think if you look at the coaching, I think Sean McVay has already been to a Super Bowl in which he lost. They were embarrassed against the Patriots. I think, obviously, we've talked about the fact of why some coaches do better in those second tenures, because they embraced losing and they learn from their mistakes. I think when you talk about that, Sean McVay is in the perfect situation here because he's already been there and lost. So he's going to have his game plan to the point where he's going to come in there and know, what he has to do to get this team to win. And that's where I think if you look at all of them, even if they were all even, to me, the edge in coaching goes to the Rams.
Mm-hmm. And George is bringing up Mixon as a weapon, and I'm ignoring that. I'm not ignoring it, but I'd be as Jason was talking, I did do a quick search, and I know Joe Mixon's a really good running back. If you would have told me, did Joe Mixon have over or under 50 catches on the season as a running back, I would have said way under. I had no idea Joe Mixon was such a weapon out of the backfield as a catch. He had 55 catches this year. I did not. I had no clue. I don't watch enough Cincinnati Bengals football, obviously. 55 catches on 63 targets. I'm surprised. I had no, and he had 3 touchdown catches to go along with his rushing touchdowns and all his rushing yards. I'm very surprised seeing those numbers there. I had no idea he was such a heavily used guy out of the backfield. Really surprised about that.
He had 42 catches.
I don't know. Maybe counting this might be counting the playoff game as well. No, I'm on DraftKings right now. This is counting the 9 catches he had in the playoffs. This is just doing every game this year because I'm on the DraftKings stat page right now. So yeah, he had 55 catches counting the 2 playoff games. So yeah, that's my mistake on that. But still, 46 catches.
It's still 42. It's still
46 catches is still a lot of catches for a running back out of the backfield.
Listen, I don't think nobody's disagreeing with George here. With George, we agree. But what I said was, will they go to the run? Will that be their game plan? If it is, then yes, I agree. Mixon could be huge, but I don't necessarily see it working out that way because I think at the end of the day, Joe Burrow, he's going to want to throw the ball. And we're in a quarterback-driven league, and that's what happens. I mean,
and again, like I said,
when was the last
San Francisco's a great running team, 50 yards last week. Tampa Bay, they're not the greatest running team, 51 yards. Arizona, 61 rushing yards. Minnesota, I don't know if Dalvin Cook played that game, 66 yards. Seattle, 80 yards. Jacksonville, 61. Green Bay, great running team, 92. Tennessee, a great running team, 69. Houston, well, they suck, but 44. The Giants, 60. Seattle, again, 92. Tampa Bay, 35. I mean, they held a lot of teams to really low rushing totals, the Rams, all year long. So you want to get the ball to Joe Mixon, but can they get the ball to Joe Mixon? And if they do, And does Taylor, head coach Taylor, see Joe Mixon get stopped a couple times and then just get away from it and just put the ball in Joe Burrow's hands? So there's a lot there that plays into it. It's not that he's not, important or can impose his will. It's will he, and will the team take advantage of that?
I mean, I'd be interested to look and see the last time that a running back was a major factor in a Super Bowl, as far as like overall game. Think about it.
I don't think any of them have ever won an MVP or anything like that. I'm going down. Emmitt Smith was the last running back that I see that won an MVP. That was in the Cowboys-Bills round 2 Super Bowl in Super Bowl 28 there. That was the last time.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, that's the last
why
time. I mean,
Mixon probably won't be the deciding factor.
Yeah.
I mean, he might, obviously get his, touches, yes. But I just don't see it becoming a game where it's Joe Mixon day. Just don't. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe you'll prove me wrong, and then George could come out and say, "I told you so." But I look at it as, I just look at all these recent Super Bowls, and I just don't see games where it's become a running back driven game. It just doesn't, especially in a game like this where you have two offensive shootout type offenses where the wide receivers are so able to get downfield, and there's such deep threat and big playability by your wide receivers. I think you touched on, tight end. I don't think we've talked about that enough. I mean, CJ Uzomah, I can't say his name right. CJ Uzomah.
I just say CJ all the time.
He's when he's healthy, he's I wouldn't say he's top tier. I mean, to me, obviously, we know the top tier tight ends: Travis Kelce, Kittle. You can't forget Andrews from the Ravens. But I put CJ in like the Dallas Goedert type level category, where a guy that's pretty decent tight end, but he's injured. I don't think he's going to play.
I mean, they're going to try. They're going to try to get him to play because everybody wants to play him Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, that's true.
But an MCL sprain, you don't recover from an MCL sprain that quickly normally,
Yeah. To me, I think the clear advantage goes to the Rams on tight end with Tyler Higbee. I mean, and I'm just pulling up the stats. Tyler Higbee was second on the Rams in catches.
Yep.
61 catches and 5 touchdowns. So, I mean, he's not a slouch. He's a guy that could.
We saw him torch the Eagles last year for 14 touchdowns in a game early in the season last year.
If they key on Cooper Kupp, then, I think Tyler Higbee becomes that guy that could, he could have one of those 2 touchdown games.
If you think about it, I mean, I can't think of his name. They have one really good cornerback, not Jalen Ramsey level, but he'll be the one on Cooper Kupp. And you still got to stop, Eli Apple still has to stop Odell. Their linebackers still have to stop, Tyler Higbee. I just think the advantage is right there, versus the Rams, who you're going to put Ramsey on Jefferson or on Jamar Chase. And it's I don't know. I just think the weapons are a little bit, on the Rams side there.
I agree. And Tyler Boyd, he, obviously he's been one of the best slot wide receivers in the league over the past 5 years. He's a guy that doesn't really get mentioned. Mm-hmm. Tyler Boyd is a great player, but I look at his opposite on the Rams, and you have Van Jefferson, who is up and coming. He's a young, but he's shown, that super growth in I believe this is his second year. He had 800 yards and 50 catches. So he's a guy that, can get downfield. 16 yards a reception. He's a guy that can hurt you, but he's also a guy that plays in the slot. So he does both. He plays both roles. And those kind of wide receivers can be dangerous in these kind of games, because if they take away Cooper Kupp, and if they say we're going to just like double Cooper Kupp and we're going to do everything to stop him, it could be the guys like Odell Beckham and Van Jefferson and Higbee that kind of steal the show. Like, I think both teams, you hit it. Both teams have weapons, but I just think the Rams have the slight edge when it comes to weapons.
Yeah,
and
we're going to talk a little defense tomorrow, a little bit more on the defense tomorrow, and where we're leaning with the defense, and can defense be what it takes? Can the defense have how much of an effect it can have on the game But yeah, we're running tight on time. So I wanted to talk a little bit real quick about favorite Super Bowls. You know, games that you really love to watch. You know, you got to take the Eagles ones out of the equation because obviously, you know, Super Bowl 52 would be everyone watching the show's favorite Super Bowl and all. But do you have like in your memory, recent memory? We don't have to go back to 1984, like when you were 21 years old, you know, watching the Super Bowl. Um, you know, do you have a favorite Super Bowl in recent memory that, you know, really stands out as one that you really thoroughly enjoyed the game from start to finish?
I actually do. And I don't know. I talked about it, I think, on one of your maybe it may have been Turf Talk that I brought it up, but I recently watched the Kurt Warner movie that
Okay.
was out. It's now actually out on video. You can go on Netflix or Amazon and rent it. I don't know if you saw it yet, but
I've not.
dude, it's a tearjerker. It's actually a great story. Like, I don't know if you knew the whole story about Kurt Warner, but like when you watch the movie, it kind of brings it into light. So for my favorite Super Bowl was that Super Bowl, Titans Rams. I believe it was Super Bowl 34. I don't know if you remember, but the ending, it ended right on the 1 yard line. Actually,
Yeah.
it was the 2 yard line.
The wide receiver, you know, leaned out. He just fell. He just fell what, like two inches short there.
Yeah, and the reason for me that was such a great Super Bowl is the Rams were like, you know, the greatest show on turf, and they had the high flying offense, but the Titans were, you know, they weren't even supposed to be there. Remember, they won on that like dramatic. It was like I forget the name of the play. They have a name for it. Where they got like at the end of the game, they I think they had a kickoff return or.
I don't really remember I mean, I remember the end play, but I don't remember the game as well as some of the other ones.
There was a play that was made in one of those playoff games by the Titans. Anyway, the play that I'm talking about with the receiver reaching out and being stopped on the 2 yard line was called the longest yard. That's what it's called.
Okay.
So if you haven't watched that Super Bowl, go back and rewatch it. It was a great overall Super Bowl. It was very close. It wasn't like a blowout, which a lot of the ones became in kind of mid 2000s and early 10s. But yeah, for me, that was definitely my most memorable. Obviously, we can't say 2017. That was obviously all.
So I'm looking at a couple more recent games, you know, just at first here. And I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Cardinals from 2009. Okay. It was a game that, first off, the Eagles should have been in that Super Bowl. You know, they should have beaten the Cardinals in the championship game, and it was not Donovan's fault. It was actually Brian Dawkins' fault, giving up a big touchdown to Larry Fitzgerald to take the lead at the end of the game there. But two things in that game that really stood out to me. First off, James Harrison, the 100-yard interception return for a touchdown, you know, right at halftime there. That was a huge play. And then what I think gets underrated, the Music City Miracle. Was that what you were thinking of there? You know, that was on the the thing that gets underlooked and underappreciated in big moment plays in Super Bowl history is the Ben Roethlisberger pass to Santonio Holmes at the end of the game to win the game. If you go back and rewatch that play, and Santonio Holmes, he was a short wide receiver. And he tiptoes that out of bounds, you know, line, makes that amazing catch in the back corner of the end zone. Right, but the play before that, they ran a similar play on the other side of the field, and I don't remember if it was a penalty or just an incomplete pass. But then they ran the same exact play to the other side, and Santonio Holmes made, in my opinion, the most underrated catch in Super Bowl history. And it was 35 seconds left that won the game. I thought that was a fantastic play that gets overlooked, and it was a really good, close Super Bowl that was hard fought to the end. So I really like that one. And I thoroughly enjoyed the Baltimore Ravens versus the 49ers, you know, a few years ago. Was that 47? I think it was Super Bowl 47.
2015?
Yeah, 2013 it was. Joe Flacco gets himself a Super Bowl MVP. Who would have ever thought that? David Akers got another chance. Unfortunately, he didn't, you know, win it and all. But, you know, it was another fun Super Bowl. Colin Kaepernick, that was when he was still, you know, young and fresh in the league. It's just a Super Bowl I remember watching. Remember the power outage? You know, somebody was playing with the lights there and had the power outage in the stadium, delayed the game for like 20, 25 minutes. You know, there's a lot of fun stuff in that Super Bowl. And then, I mean, I said not to go back in time, but I thoroughly enjoyed all 4 Buffalo. I really wanted Buffalo to win a Super Bowl back in the day. They were my number 1 team outside the Eagles when I was a kid, and the fact that Giants Bills Super Bowl when what was his name, the kicker, Scott Norwood, was that the kicker that missed the field goal at the end of the game? Yeah, out of the league. We're rounding it back to Sixers talk here. Will it happen? We have no clue, Ethan. No clue. We talked about it the first half of the show. Every minute, another rumor comes out that changes our opinions on whether it'll happen or not. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
at this point,
just real quick, another Super Bowl for me. I don't want to necessarily say it was one of my favorites, but one that stands out in my memory bank was the Patriots Seahawks, where that baffle by the coach at the end of the game.
The throw the interception.
Have Russell Wilson throw it instead of use
Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch.
It was Super Bowl 49, 2015 there.
Yeah, because that to me is like vivid in my mind. I remember specifically watching it. A lot of these Super Bowls, like obviously when the Eagles aren't in it, I don't watch every single second because a lot of times you're at parties or you're having people over and you're hosting, so you're not seeing every play. But I remember vividly, I was focused on that game for some. I believe it was just me and my dad watching it, and I remember because I love Russell Wilson, and obviously I didn't like the Patriots because they win every year, so it was one of those things where it's like obviously I was rooting for the Seahawks and Russ, and just I remember how frustrating not just obviously I can only imagine how Seahawks fans must have felt. Because me as just a fan of Russell Wilson, I was just pissed off knowing that they should have ran that ball in there. You have Marshawn Lynch, who's basically, in his day was one of the best short, yardage guys.
Speaking Marshawn Lynch, and we'll wrap it up with this. If anybody hasn't watched Murderville on Netflix, it's like a murder mystery dinner party kind of ad-lib thing. Starts out, first episode's Conan O'Brien. The second episode has Marshawn Lynch in it. Go watch it. It is some funny bleeping stuff. Okay, so go watch Murderville on Netflix, especially episode 1 and 2 with Conan, and like I said, Marshawn Lynch in episode 2. Some funny bleeping stuff there. All right, we got to wrap the show up for today. I'm up against the timeline here. I got to get in. I got a catering order to get to. Today's National Pizza Day. Support your local pizza shops. Support. I know Super Bowl, you're going to support them. I know Valentine's Day, you're going to support them. But today is National Pizza Day. Make sure you support your local pizza shops. If you're anywhere near the Kennett Square area, come in and say hi to me. I will be at my place, Fox's Pizza, all day long and all night long. Another Trending in the AM in the books today. We'll continue the Super Bowl talk tomorrow. We'll continue the NBA trade deadline talk tomorrow. Still working on building up that lineup for Friday's final Super Bowl show, where we're going to really finally get all the end of the talk on the Super Bowl, all the different betting and stuff like that that's going on. But make sure you subscribe to DSM Media on YouTube, following us on Facebook and Twitter, and sharing out the show. We appreciate some more new people. Ethan, Daniel, people checking in today. We appreciate the support in the comments. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, like button. Continue to help build this brand and this morning show, Trending in the AM. We are taking it over, as Sage said at the very beginning, one of the first comments of the show. The world needs to know we have the best morning talk show there is. Damn straight. We are brought to you by Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming products. Check them out, manscaped.com. Use promo code DSM at checkout for 20% off free shipping, and to let them know Team DSM sent you. I am Phil Stiefel at Beard of Knowledge on Twitter. For my partner, Jason Voorhees at Mustang3651. Everybody have a great day. Support local pizza, and go Birds.
Go Birds.